Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Talk of the Town podcast. If you have not already, make sure to hit that subscribe button as we're now on the road to 400 subscribers here on the YouTube channel. If you love sports news, sports betting, special segments, daily uploads, updated rankings every single week, my reactions, anything at all, it's all right here on the Talk of the Town podcast. So I promise you, your subscription will be well worth it and much, much appreciated. And speaking of special segments here today, we have slips for Sundays where I give you guys my 3 best games to bet on, including some bet slips for those games as well. Then I also end off the segment with a crazy bet where I feel like if you win some big money this weekend, make sure to take a look at my crazy bet because I feel like that's your best chance to do so. So stay tuned for that. Then we're also going to do a little bit of a reaction to the Ravens versus Dolphins Thursday night football game from last night as well. But first, I'm going to wish you guys a happy Halloween. I don't know if there's any trick-or-treaters watching this. I haven't went trick-or-treating at a really long time to this point. But to anyone who's going out partying, getting dressed up, whatever you're doing, I've been going out partying the last couple of years and getting dressed up. I'm not doing it tonight, though. First off, the weather's horrible where I live at. It's going to be like 40-mile-an-hour winds where I live at tonight. So feel bad for any trick-or-treaters near me. But just have a blessed and safe Halloween out there for whatever you guys are doing tonight on Halloween. So, yeah, man, let's get into the Ravens versus Dolphins Thursday night football game first. From last night, pretty one-sided game last night, I'd say. We'd all say that. Yeah, really, the Ravens just took that game by storm, and the Dolphins, in the first half, it felt like they were in it. They definitely missed out on some opportunities to be in that game. They had the missed field goal, missed touchdown opportunities, the fumble at the beginning of the game, which set the Ravens up for a pretty freak touchdown, even though they only got it on 4th and goal. But nonetheless, they still ended up getting a touchdown anyway on a pretty bad Dolphins defense. And I thought the Dolphins maybe coming into this game, especially with some sort of positive momentum for what feels like one of the very few times this year, maybe had some sort of chance with Lamar coming back. Maybe he needs a little bit of a warm-up, which was a big maybe. I figured Lamar would come in. He's only missed a couple of weeks. He's Lamar Jackson, all right? This isn't like, I don't know, some scrub coming in and stepping in, like Tyler Shuck coming in and stepping in for the first time. But, sorry, Tyler Shuck and Saints fans, and that's so mean to throw you under the bus like that. But just saying, in reference. But no, the Dolphins just didn't even stand a chance in this game. And I took the Ravens to win this game. I mean, pretty easily, to be honest with you. I said it would be comfortable. And it was definitely a comfortable win for the Ravens tonight. In terms of play on the field, I mean, there's not really too much to talk about, to be honest with you, as I mentioned. Tua and the Dolphins are just terrible. They've been like that all year, besides last week when they played the Falcons. I mean, they really looked like they had a lot of signs of life in that game. That's why I thought they'd have maybe a little bit more of a chance to win this game. I'm like, hey, this team keeps rolling like that. They actually look pretty good. There's no chance the Dolphins were going to make the playoffs or anything, whether or not they won last night or would go on a bit of a run at all. But I was like, maybe they can pull a little bit of an upset again this weekend, or this week, should I say. And no, just not even a chance in that game at all. Tua in that offense, it's just pretty hard to watch. And you see, they always pan in when Tua either misses a throw, there's a drop. Tua had an interception late in the game yesterday. They immediately pan to Mike McDaniel's reaction. And I think it's pretty funny because those two hate each other. I mean, there's no doubt. They've kind of went back and forth on the podium, especially the last couple of weeks. Kind of giving some comments back and forth towards each other. They're not with each other, but they're throwing shots at each other. Let me say that's the word I was looking for. They're throwing shots at each other over the podium, and you can tell those two just can't. They literally can't stand each other. So that's a relationship waiting to end. Whether or not we get the news of the time of me recording this video that Mike McDaniel's fired, or I think to this point they might end up holding out Mike McDaniel till the end of the season. They are paying him a lot of money. They extended him, I forget, what was it? Was it last year or 2 years ago? They extended him to a pretty big amount of money. So I think there's a pretty big chance they end up keeping Mike McDaniel till the end of the season. Now, of course, of me saying this, watch, there's going to be an article comes up. Mike McDaniel fired at so-and-so. Anthony Weaver steps in as interim head coach. I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm just saying, I think there's a lot of people waiting for Mike McDaniel to get fired, but I think that could be something that happens literally an hour after the last game ends. into Week 18. That's what happened to Gerard Mayo last year. Like, the whole thing was done. They had that letter written for Gerard Mayo's firing, like a week before they fired him. They wrote this whole letter that came out like an hour after the Bills game for Gerard Mayo. So I was like, they had that thing written up. I wouldn't be surprised they already had Mike McDaniel's resignation written up, or firing written up, already waiting to post it whenever they fire him. I'm sure they do. I don't pray for anyone. I don't wish for anyone to get fired, but that's looking like the case with the Dolphins and Mike McDaniel. That feels like a 100% chance that's coming to an end there. But for the Ravens, hey, that was a hell of a game last night for them, and the last couple of weeks against the Bears too. They had a pretty massive win. Any win to this point feels like a must-win for the Ravens. I'd say they're on a very short leash in terms of making errors in games. They really can only afford to lose 2-3 games max. I mean, the Steelers have a tough schedule coming up, and they're 4-3 right now. They're a game and a half behind Pittsburgh, and I think they play Indianapolis this week, which Indy's got to be favored in that game, and I would take Indy to win that game as well. I think the Ravens are way closer to winning the AFC North than a lot of people think, and I think a lot of people do realize that, but Pittsburgh could have a commanding lead in this division, and they just don't. They've flopped the last couple of games against Green Bay. More understandable. I think Green Bay has a better roster and just a better team in general than Pittsburgh. But Cincinnati, they've got to win that game, and they don't end up winning that game, which ends up moving Cincinnati and Baltimore's now tied heading into this week. The AFC North is neck and neck right now. And I think Baltimore is probably going to end up winning that division, which I was wrong, because a few weeks ago, I was like, Pittsburgh's going to run away with this thing. Ravens are 1-5. Who knows when Lamar Jackson's going to come back? I think the Ravens got pretty lucky with that bye week, because I think if they didn't have that bye week, things were seriously ugly with the Ravens. I think it would have just kept going downhill. So I think in terms of their scheduling, they got pretty blessed with that bye week. Would they get it in week 7? Yeah, they got very blessed in that spot right there in order to kind of talk some things out, make some changes, and it definitely looks like that bye week has helped. I mean, they've been 2-0 since, considering they only had one win before the bye week. I definitely say that's made a difference in their scheduling as well. But I was wrong with Pittsburgh. Kind of feeling comfortable about them winning the division. Now, of course, anything can happen. Pittsburgh still does have the upper hand on them, and especially if they go and beat Indianapolis this weekend, that's going to be a big plus for Pittsburgh. Unless they're going to look up and be like, damn, maybe the Ravens aren't surefire to win this division. I feel like that's really the only chance for the Ravens to maybe even get in the playoffs is to win their division. I mean, I think I mentioned on my podcast yesterday that the entirety of the AFC is just it's a really tight race. There's going to be a lot of teams at 9-8 and 10-7. And it's going to come down to a lot of tiebreakers and standings and stuff like that. And who knows by the time the season ends whether or not the Ravens could get it. I think that's near impossible to predict. But they have to look at winning this division to have a real shot at making the playoffs. And they're still 3-5. They have a bit of an upper hill to climb. But definitely momentum is shifting in the right way for the Baltimore Ravens. Whereas the whole season, it was this way. And now it's finally this way for the first time this season. So big time win for the Ravens there. And I seen a graphic last night that I thought was pretty interesting as well, that the Dolphins haven't won a playoff game in 24 years. I realized I've never seen the Dolphins win a playoff game. I've seen them make the playoffs a couple of times over the last couple of years, but I've never seen them win a playoff game. My brother's almost 30 years old. He's in his mid-20s. He shit his diapers the last time the Dolphins won a playoff game. Like, that's embarrassing for any organization. That's really bad. So, I think we don't quite classify the Dolphins in terms of being there with the Jets and stuff like that, but I think they're there. I think the Dolphins are just as bad as an organization as the Jets. They're not quite as dysfunctional. Like, they've been competitive for some years, especially the last couple of years when they had Tua and Tyreek and Waddle. They made a bunch of blockbuster trades the last few years, and now it's kind of blown up in their face. That feels like forever ago at this point. But they're just as bad as those organizations in terms of winning games, meaningful games at least. Let me just say that. They're horrible. I didn't realize they were that bad in terms of that. you really have to start wondering, like, are the Dolphins that bad? Are they as bad as like Tennessee and New York and stuff like that in terms of functionality in their organization? They've been just putrid. I don't know the last year they won a playoff game. Well, I guess 24 years ago, but that's pretty bad. So let's get into slips for Sundays here today. I've had some feedback on slips for Sundays. I've definitely, like last week, I went a lot into the numbers. You guys just kind of want the bet slips, kind of go over it briefly, and then move into the crazy bet. You guys kind of just like seeing the bets. We talk about it for a minute or two and then move on. You guys would rather see that. I've had some feedback on that. So we'll see how that works out today. I'm not necessarily going to go full into statistics like I have been. I've been going in full in on like, hey, this team, their defense against tight ends is so-and-so, which in terms, you guys don't necessarily want to hear all that. So maybe not necessarily everyone, but I've had some feedback on that. So I'm going to be a little less statistical today. Let's just say that in terms of me giving my thoughts on some of these parlays. So let's get in to the first parlay here. We have Chargers and the Titans here. I have Justin Herbert 240 plus, 2+ passing touchdowns for Justin Herbert. Over, let's just say 1 interception for Cam Ward. Vidal 50+ rushing yards and McConkey 60+ rushing yards as well. Herbert, again, a lot of these are kind of taking a little bit of the under on. I like giving these guys some sort of room to work with. Herbert averages about like 255 passing yards a game. So I like giving him a little bit of wiggle room, especially with a team like Tennessee, right? A lot of these guys end up having to bench their starters because Tennessee is so bad. And by the third quarter, the game's over. Usually by halftime, the game's over, but we'll just go the third, early fourth quarter. These games are over. So they end up benching some of their players, which is why I'm a little hesitant betting on Tennessee sometimes. But even still, usually most of these guys play till towards the end of the game. But when you play against teams like Tennessee, that's just something you kind of have to watch out for. So that's why I kind of take the under on some of the passing yards, passing touchdowns, stuff like that. Herbert has been great the last few weeks, especially with his passing yards, his touchdowns. Last week against Minnesota, he just ate them alive. And that's why I'm taking that for the passing touchdowns and the passing yards there. He averages like 255 a game. Passing touchdowns, he averages 2 a game. And then the Titans secondary is just a mess. I mean, it is really bad. And their defense and the team gets worse every week. Cam Ward, Jim Harbaugh is going to beat him like a drum tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, Sunday. Which in turn is going to lead to turnovers. Cam Ward throws some pretty risky passes, and the Chargers actually create a lot of turnovers as a defense and a lot of pressure. So I think Cam Ward could have more than 1 interception on Sunday. So that's something to watch out for there. Vidal, 50+ rushing yards. He's been great the last few weeks. Jim Harbaugh said he's one of the best running backs in the league. He's been great. And he had over 100 yards against Minnesota. There's no doubt he's going to have it for 50 against Tennessee. But I think this offense is going to put up a ton of yards against this Tennessee defense. And McConkey, 60+ receiving yards as well. He's been getting a lot better the last few weeks. At the beginning of the season, McConkey was kind of like, hey, we're kind of worried for this dude a little bit. Justin Herbert and that Chargers offense like spread the love with the ball a little bit. So McConkey, in terms of going like, hey, 100+, stuff like that, he could. But he's starting to get back into his groove of being like the solidified number 1 in that offense and not quite to be so heavily dominant on spreading it between all 3 guys. So, yeah. Next game here to put a slip on, I got the Saints and the Rams, or to put a bet on. Let me say that. I don't know. I couldn't think of the right word right there. I got the Saints and the Rams here for my next bet slip. 300+ yards for Matt Stafford. I'm all in on the Rams this game. I really am. And I think the Rams are going to have a heavy pass attack this game because that Saints secondary is terrible. They really are. They give up some of those passing yards a game. They're starting Tyler Shuck today. Why do I keep saying today and tomorrow? They're starting Tyler Shuck on Sunday. I keep thinking today's Saturday for some reason. It's Saturday and Sunday. It feels like the weekend to me for some reason. So excuse me for that. 300+ passing yards for Matt Stafford here on Sunday. Then I'm going to take Kamara, 40+ rushing yards as well. Kamara's averaging like 47 yards a game. But I think with Chuck in the game, they're going to run the ball a lot, especially against a really good Rams secondary and pass rush. They're going to be eating Tyler Shuck alive back there. I think they're going to want to run the ball, not quite ask so much of Tyler Shuck, And yeah, we're going to go Kyron Williams under 73.5. Again, I think with Puka back, Devontae Adams starting to kind of getting a little bit of a groove with Stafford. I think Kyron Williams is not necessarily going to be asked to do too much. And the Saints' run defense is actually pretty good. So I think they're going to have Stafford passing the ball a lot against the Saints here on Sunday. And I just don't think he's going to get over 73.5 rushing yards, especially with the Saints rushing attack. I think they're really good as well. So they've been one of the better parts of their defense. And then I'm going to take Puka 120 plus. I think Puka's going to have a massive game. I think he could even have a better game than that, to be honest with you. But I'm not going to go too far on that. But with him back, the Saints secondary is really bad. I think Puka's going to have a massive game. I think him and Stafford are going to put up big numbers on Sunday. So my next parlay I want to put up here is the Falcons and the Patriots. Bijan, I'm going to go under 63.5. You're like, under 63.5? The Patriots haven't given up a 50-plus yard rush for the entire season, which is like the most in like over 50 years or something like that. So, yeah, I'm going to go Bijan under 63.5. Again, I like that as a little leeway between having, 50-plus rushing yards. If he does end up being the first 50-plus yard rusher, it's not going to be by much. That rushing attack has been great for New England. I think New England's going to get up to start, which I think they're going to pass the ball a lot. I think Penix is back against New England. So, yeah. Going to take Drake May 2+ passing touchdowns as well. He's been averaging around 2 passing touchdowns per game. And this Falcons defense, especially in the red zone, has not been very good, especially the last couple of weeks. They got eaten alive by the Dolphins. So I think the Patriots are going to go and have a heavy pass attack, which is why I think I'm going to take them 250+ passing yards as well for Drake May. Again, the deep ball he brings, which brings a massive amount of yardage to the table. And the Falcons do have a lot of busted coverages. So I think, again, Drake May 250+ kind of feels like a lock there. And Stephon Diggs 50+. He averages about 56 yards a game. I think he'll have a pretty good game here against the Falcons as well. Again, I mentioned a lot of busted coverages, which I think in turns leads to some yards there for Stephon Diggs. And then I'll give you guys my crazy bet here on screen as well real quick. All money lines here. I feel really good about this one this week. Bengals, Jags, Chiefs, Broncos, Packers, Pats, Colts, and Chargers. Taking all the money lines. There are a lot of favorites in there. I think, did I take any underdogs? I think the Chiefs are underdogs against the Bills in that game as well. So I think the Bengals might be underdogs as well. I forget who they go against this week now. Of course, I put it up. I forget who they go against. But I felt really comfortable about the Bengals winning that game here this weekend. So, yeah, man, there's my crazy bet of the week. If you're feeling lucky, make sure to put that in. I feel like that's your best chance to do so there. I'm taking a lot of favorites. I think I had a couple dogs in there. And, yeah, man, that is it for today's video. Happy Halloween to you guys. Have a safe holiday today. If you consider Halloween a holiday, I do. I do like Halloween, one of my favorite holidays there is. Lots of fun there. So have a blessed Halloween, everyone, and I'll see you guys on Monday. Take it easy.